I'm Neil, and I'm the teacher.
And I'm Sean, and I'm the deal maker. Together,
We're the Rise Guys.
Welcome back to the Rise Weekly webinar. I am Neil Fawcett, and today we are covering topics that come up constantly on the RECA exam. Residential measurement standards, material latent defects, and key documents you need to have in your toolkit. We are also going to talk about what the exam actually looks like and how to study smart. If you're working through the residential course right now, this session is going to save you a lot of headaches. Let us jump in. All right, let us start with residential measurement standards, because this is one of the areas RECA tests the hardest. The key rule you need to remember is this: if any portion of a level is below grade, the entire level must be excluded from your RMS calculation. It does not matter how finished it is. You could have a beautiful developed basement with hardwood floors and a full kitchen. It is still below grade, and it cannot go in the RMS number. You report it separately as additional developed space. Now, walkout basements trip people up every single time. Students think, well, it has a walkout door, it has big windows, it feels like main floor living. Doesn't matter. A walkout basement is still below grade under RMS. The grade classification is about the relationship between the floor level and the exterior ground, not about the amenities or the light. Remember that for the exam. Now let us talk about material latent defects, because this ties directly into RMS. When you are measuring a property and you notice something that does not look right, that triggers your disclosure obligations. A material latent defect is a hidden issue that could affect the value, safety, or use of the property. And here is the critical rule. You must disclose all known material latent defects to all parties in the transaction, not just your client, all parties. If you suspect a property was not repaired to pre-loss condition, maybe there was a flood and the basement was redone, but something looks off, you cannot just shrug and move on. You must advise your client to get a professional inspection. Document everything. Your notes protect you if there is ever a complaint to RECA. Failing to disclose a material latent defect is one of the most serious violations you can commit. It can end your career. RECA places a lot of weight on professionalism and documentation. You need to be familiar with several key documents. First, the designated agency agreement. This is what creates the formal relationship between you and your client, whether they are a buyer or a seller. Exclusive representation agreements define exactly what your duties are and what services you will provide. Consumer guides are publicly available on the RECA website, and you should know they exist for every client situation. Then there are customer acknowledgement forms. These are critical because they clarify when you are not representing someone. If a person is a customer rather than a client, they need to acknowledge that in writing. Fee agreements must be in place before you provide services. And here is a big exam tip. Missing documentation is one of the most frequently tested violations. If a scenario mentions that someone forgot to have a form signed, that is almost always the answer. Let us talk about what the RECA exam actually looks like. The format includes a few question types that catch students off guard. First, matching questions. These ask you to pair a concept with a definition or a scenario. Second, multiple correct answers. Unlike a standard multiple choice where there is one right answer, these questions may have 2 or even 3 correct choices. You have to select all of them. Third, visual identification. They might show you a construction element or a property feature and ask you to name it. Now you have access to Mark, your personal AI tutor. Use him. Seriously, Mark can quiz you on any topic, create flashcards, and help you practice specific units like residential measurement standards until the concepts are automatic. Do not just memorize the material. Practice applying it to scenarios, because that is what the exam tests. Here is my best advice for your study strategy, professionalism and fiduciary duties. That is where RECA focuses most of their exam questions. Know your obligations around disclosure, around documentation, around conflicts of interest. Those 3 areas come up again and again. You also need to practice your CMA calculations and your mortgage math. Those are mandatory calculation sections, and you cannot skip them. The good news is that consistent study habits We'll get you there. Set a realistic timeline, maybe a month for the remaining material, and stick to it. Focus on applying rules to scenarios rather than just reading textbook definitions. And use the weekly webinars. Every Thursday at 4 p.m. Mountain Time, we are live and you can bring specific questions. That is how you get ready for test day. Let me leave you with the key takeaways from today. On RMS, below grade means excluded, period. It does not matter how finished the space is. It does not matter if it is a walkout. Below grade is below grade. On disclosure, you must disclose all material latent defects to all parties. If you even suspect something was not repaired properly, advise your client to get an inspection. Document everything. And for exam prep, focus on professionalism and fiduciary duties. First, because that is where most of the marks are. Practice with Mark, your AI tutor, and get comfortable with matching questions and multiple correct answer formats. You have got this. Keep studying consistently and you will be ready. New webinar summary every week. Subscribe so you never miss one.